dear co-IT students, get ready to dive into the world of operating system with a fun twist. Today, we will explore one of the most efficient, fair, and beginner-friendly CPU scheduling algorithm, like round robin. Sounds technical, but don't worry, we're going to make it super easy to understand by comparing it to the games we already love, like Uno, Monopoly, and even classroom Q&A session. That's not all. Once you get the concept, we will build a simple round-robin scheduler in Java. Together, step by step, by the end, you will not only understand the theory, but also have working simulation to show off. Ready to learn? Let's go.
What is round robin? Round robin is a primitive scheduling algorithm. It is give each process a small fixed time called time quantum to run. If it doesn't finish in that time, it sends back to the queue. This continues in a loop until all the processes are done. It's simple, fair, and works well in time sharing systems. Here's how it works. Processes are arranged in a circular queue. The CPU begins by executing the first process in the queue. If the first process finishes before the time quantum, it is it exits the queue and the next process begins execution. If the process does not finish within the time quantum, it is paused, moved to the back to the queue, and the next process is given CPU time. This cycle repeats continuously until all the processes are completed.
To make this easy to understand, let's look at a fun example playing Uno. Game setup. Four friends are playing Uno. Alice, Bob, Charlie, and Dana. Each has some cards. Alice has three cards, Bob has two cards, Charlie has four cards, and Dana only have one card. So the game rule, each player can only play one card per turn. If they have more cards, they must wait for their next turn. The turn order is Alice, Bob, Charlie, and Dana. Then repeat until everyone is done. So round one, everyone gets their first turn. Alice plays one card, now has two cards left. Bob plays one card, now has one card left. Charlie plays one card, now has three cards left. And Dana plays one card, now has zero cards, which is she's done. Each player got one turn, just like in round robin. No one skipped. Everyone thought some have more works or there more cards, but they must wait for their next turn. So round two, Dana is skipped because she's done. Alice play one card, now has one card left. Bob plays one card, now has zero cards, which is he's done. So Charlie play one card, now has two cards left. So we skip player who are done. Others still got just one turn. Round robin doesn't let anyone task or player finish everything in one go. So fairness is key. So round three, Alice play one card, now has zero card, because she's already done. So Charlie play one card and now has one card left. So fewer players left, but the same rule continues, one turn at a time. And even Charlie has the most card, she must still wait for another round. So round four, only Charlie is left. So Charlie play his last card, now has zero cards. So he's done. So Charlie finishes, the game ends. So this is like when all classes finish like running in a CPU. Round robin ends when no one tasks are left.
Imagine you're playing Monopoly with friends. You roll the dice, move your piece, and make a decision. But here's the catch. You only have 3 seconds to complete your turn. If you finish within that time, great. It's the next player's turn. If not, time is up, and the dice automatically move to the next player. Round robin scheduling works similarly. Each process gets a fixed amount of CPU define the time quantity. Once that time is up, regardless of whether the process is done, the CPU moves on to the next task. This way, no one player or process can dominate the game or the CPU, making it fair for everyone involved. Just like in Monopoly, the key is quick decision making and moving on to the next turn efficiently. Imagine a classroom where the teacher is asking questions to the students. Each student is given exactly 3 seconds to answer. If they respond within that time, the teacher moves on to the next student. If they're still thinking when the time is up, the teacher doesn't wait. It's the next student's turn. But here's the important part. The teacher doesn't forget about the student who couldn't answer. Once the cycle is complete, the teacher gives that student another chance to respond. This is how round robin works. Each process or student gets a fixed time to use the CPU. If it doesn't complete its task, it waits in line for another turn. This ensures everyone gets a fair shot without letting one process monopolize the CPU. Just like no student dominates the Q&A session.
Time complexity. In terms of performance, understanding the time complexity of the round robin scheduling is crucial. Let's break it down. Total execution time. The total execution time in round robin is determined by two key factors. N, the number of processes. B, the burst time of each processes. Mathematically, this can be expressed as total execution time O parentheses N times B. Worst case time complexity. The worst case scenario occurs when the burst time for each process is particularly high. Specifically, if the burst time is proportional to the number of processes, B equals N, then the time complexity becomes worst case time complexity O parentheses N times N equals O parentheses N squared. Why does this happen? In round robin, each process gets fixed time slice in a cyclic manner. If a process doesn't complete within its time slice, it pushes to the end of the queue. As the number of processes within their burst time increases, the number of contexts switches and overall overhead also increase, leading to quadratic complexity.
Let's now, let's now walk through the complete round-robin scheduling simulation in Java, step by step. Now import Java util. Import Java utility class for less queues and iterator, etc. Now, we begin by importing the Java utils package. This gives us access to collections like queues, array lists, which we have used to manage our process. Name the process A or B, arrival time and burst time of the process, time left to complete the process. Next, we define a class called process. Its object will store the details like when the process arrived, how long it's run, and how much time remains. Now, initially remaining time equals burst time. These constructors utilizes which the process which properties notice the remaining time is set to burst time at the start. Now, this is our main class, round robin, where everything is executed. The main method is the simulation entry point. Now, each process gets 3 units of CPU time per round. Simulation clock start at 0. We define our time quantum at the physics slice of the CPU time. We initialize the current time to 0 which simulates the clock. This defines the sample process. We hard code up for sample process, each has name, an arrival time, and a burst time. We use key collection, ready queue for process, ready to use the CPU, arrival list for those haven't arrived yet. Jump some console output to label the timeline of execution like a Gantt chart. Though the main loop of the runs units of the process have arrived and finished executing. scan for the new arrivals, add to ready queues, remove from arrival list. We iterate over the arrival list to find any process that have arrived. Arrival time greater than current time is if found, we have add them to ready to queue. Now get the next process to run for time quantum or less. If there are process ready, we take from the queue, we calculate the how long it should run, whatever it's smaller, its remain time or the time quantum. We print which process is running and the time interval. This acts as our Gantt chart timeline. Now move the clock forward. It is this process. Then we update the simulation time and subtract the executed time from the process remaining time. Click for any arrival during the execution. Since has advanced, we check again for any newly arrival process and add them to queue. Process not finished, requeue it, and done. CPU ideal, no process ready. If the process is not yet done, we have put back in the queue. Otherwise, we log in has completed. If the queue is empty, we stimulate ideal time by moving current time by 1. Finally, we print the completion message. All the process has been executed. That our full simulation. Process scheduling based on arrival time, Gantt start style visualization of our CPU execution. Now you can instance by calculating turn around, waiting, and response times, which we discuss later. Now, let's look what happens when we run the simulation using our three processors, A, B, and C. Sample output, time 0 to 3, A, time 3 to 6, B, time 6 to 9, C, time 9 to 12, A, time 12 to 13, B, time 13 to 16, C, time 16 to 19, A, time 19 to 20, C. Ang complete time at 19. A complete time at 90. B complete time at 13. C complete time at 20. As you can see, the scheduler picks process in the order they arrive, giving each 3 units per CPU time. As a process need to more time, it goes back the line, just like talking turns into the game. Each process get a slice of the CPU pie, then step back to if they not needed, not done, and eating. Uno or board games turn animation. This round robin styles ensure furnace no single process, hold the CPUs in short process, get completed early if they don't need the multiple turns. A table with a column, process arrival time, completion time, and turnaround time, waiting time, and response time. To better understand the performance, let's calculate some key scheduling metrics. Turnaround time, completion time minus arrival time. Waiting time, turnaround time minus burst time. Response time, for CPU start time minus arrival time. Example of tables. Process ABC, arrival 0, 1, 2, 3. Completion 19, 13, 20. Burst 10, 5, 7. Turnaround 19, 12, 17. Waiting 9, 7, 10. Response 8, 2, 3. So, awaited total units 9 units across multiple rounds. B was quick to finish just 2 rounds. C has to wait the most due the later arrival and longer burst time. The matrix helps evaluate how efficient our 4-hour schedule is. For example, lower average waiting time is usually better for responsiveness. You can either extend the Java code to calculate and print the matrix automatically, a great exercise for lab or homework. Next time, try adding function to track each process for response time, calculate average, and even draw the Gantt chart visually. That's how you can take this simulation to next level.
So that's it for today's tutorial. I hope you enjoyed our creative take on the round robin algorithm, blending codings with real life games and classroom dynamics. We've explored how round robin keeps things fair, just like taking turns in a passing dice in Monopoly, or giving each student a chance to take answer in class. Plus, we've seen how easy it is to simulate it with Java. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit like the button and subscribe for more coding concepts simplified through everyday analogies. Got questions and suggestions? Drop them in the comments. And if you'd like a follow-up where we dive deeper in calculating waiting time, turnaround time, or even building a GUI-based round-robin simulator, let me know. Until next time, keep coding, stay curious, and make learning fun.